Frieza log. Stardate. What's the point? My supply of wine is fading fast. When will my journey end? Hey guys, MasakoX here. It's Valentine's Day weekend, and it's time to show one of the biggest what-ifs of the channel some love. One of the breakout hits from this channel as of late has been coming off of the back of one of my boldest thought experiments. I've been really telling you all that this premise was one of the most impossible ideas I could think of due to the fact that I'd really been holding back from it for so long, that the subject matter of this was just so set in stone. For the longest time, I just could not think of anything that would work in a way which provide either a feasible story for the likes of you guys, or something that felt true to the character at large. However, after months of thinking and much cajoling from you on our roundtable live streams, I managed to come up with a basic idea that popped into my head. I felt comfortable to at least give this a try and see where it takes me. So today, we continue with the story that a lot of you really wanted to see develop after doubting it at first, and that is of course, what if Frieza turned good? Like I've said loads of times before, this isn't going to be one of those narratives where the person just throws up their arms and say, "Oh, I was a fool to be so bad. I promise to be a nice guy from now on." Neither is that particularly sustainable, believable, and neither is it fitting to the subject matter. If I were to do that, that wouldn't be fair on Frieza as a character model, nor would you Frieza fans out there appreciate me being so slipshod and flippant with the legacy that the character has managed to carve out for himself over the years. No, the best thing to do here is for Frieza to discover all of his life had been pretty much a ruse, and that his time as an emperor was all for naught and could change at any moment if he proved to show any signs of weakness. Which he did. King Cold, his father, had already failed once with Cooler seemingly. He was not going to be so forgiving if Frieza showed similar elements, which were less than favourable. His larking about with Goku, seemingly wanting to actually spare him, cost him pretty much everything that he had built from himself since visiting planet Vegeta, and now he was going to have to try and carve something out for himself all over again without any resources. With all those empty days in space with nothing to do, Frieza could probably have found some time by listening to a couple of audiobooks, which is where Audible would come in. I mean, is there a space equivalent of Audible? Audible has tons of different types of literature to get stuck into, which is where I've been revisiting all of the Red Dwarf books. Yes, there were books, as well as recently finishing off Jensen Button's How to Be an F1 Driver, to which I thoroughly enjoyed. And it really got me excited for Philly and I's trip to Barcelona next week to see the testing there. There's as many audiobooks there as you can think of, and if you go to audible.com/MasakoX or text MasakoX to 500 500, you can get yourself a 30-day free trial plus an entirely free audiobook plus 2 Audible originals at no extra cost. And that free audiobook, it can be whatever you want it to be. Also, with the handy Audible apps for both iOS and Android, you will be able to learn a new skill perhaps, or discover something you didn't know before, as well as Frieza being able to realize that there is something other than rosé wine to drink and an afternoon soirée. I hope that this little message was audible enough for you. Okay, let's just get back to it, shall we? We start off with our Dragon team, unsure where to begin because Goku isn't there to give him the guidance. That does happen a lot. Himself swanning about on planet Yardrat, focusing more on his spirit control training. This does mean that he is stronger, slightly, than he is in the original show at this point, having gained a better focus of his overall energy output, then being able to kind of fine-tune it to make it one specific point more efficient. But one mystery which we shall now address is what power does Goku choose to specialize in after consuming his basic training? And that was down to you. With a categorical 70% of the vote, you chose for Goku to focus on the Yardratian technique, that is healing. Okay, this means that Goku now has a limited ability to heal, which could come in use sometime. But I think to make sure that this doesn't get broken, and since we're uncertain about the scope of the skill that the Yardratians have as of late in comparison to what Dende can do, if you try it on a Saiyan, it's not sufficient enough to produce a Zenkai-like effect if you heal them. It just means that it heals an injury, like anyone else. After this, Goku decides that this might be the best time to head home and surprise his crew with the new powers that he has. Pibara thanks Goku for his time here and wishes him well. Perhaps he could come back and visit sometime. Oh, Pibara, you should understand by now how fickle Goku is, really. Goku vanishes from Yardrat and arrives back on Earth at Kame House. The gang are astonished to see suddenly Goku here in Roshi's lounge, but they are more surprised that he didn't choose to go to his own place and greet, his wife and son. But he explains this because he's not quite gotten the handle of his power in the instant transmission from such a great distance. He basically had to really lock onto a place that had a lot of energy around it, and this fitted the bill. With that, he does indeed head home to an awaiting family, looking understandably a little apprehensive. Frieza has been slowly repairing his robotic body with more and more parts that were superior to the slapdash job that the bumbling Frieza scientists had done when they were frantically trying to save him. Now with time to focus, he had at least gotten an appearance which was less mangled and random looking, and it looked a bit more in sync, but still not quite Frieza. But there was no mistaking that he did look a mess. But at least now he could blend in a little more, with less of a chance that a former soldier of his would recognize him. This was quite refreshing for him, as it enhanced the idea of starting anew. That being said, he hadn't forgotten about that Goku person. All of this upgrading, having to sneak around, streamlining of his body, was in readiness to one day face Goku again and tear him apart for all that he's done. Ideally in front of his loved ones, oh yes, that would be the day that he would look forward to. It isn't the days of him conquering worlds for profit anymore, or anything like that, but Goku, right now, was his only constant, of sorts, that he had left. And yep, that sounds like your typical Dragon Ball antagonist after sparring with Goku one time, doesn't it? As that was going on, King Cold had proceeded with his third iteration of creating the most superior being, other than himself of course. The project labelled Trojan was near completion, and even though it would be a while yet before it was awake and moving around, alert and mobile, all of the previous instances from Cooler and Frieza's upbringing were accounted for and corrected.
I do believe that I have done it. Now hopefully I can retire, and my legacy will be assured for eons to come.
He touches the container where the Trojan project is gestating.
Do not let me down, my son.
Somewhere out in the depths of space, Frieza has the compulsion to feel a chill and sneeze. He feels something deep within him. Kind of like how he feels with his brother at times. Something filled him with dread that he could not, or didn't want to, explain away. With Goku back at home, Gohan offloads the information that Trunks had told him about the androids, as well as saying that before that date, he would also need to take this medicine to avert something bad from happening. Goku takes the vial and inspects it.
And you're sure that this guy was on the level? Nobody seemed scared of him, Dad, and he was keen to tell us, despite Vegeta scaring him somewhat.
Goku nods again.
That sounds like Vegeta, alright. I don't think I need this, though. The Yardratians taught me something really cool, how to heal myself.
Gohan is amazed to hear this. His dad knew the same power as Dende did, seemingly. How cool! Placing the medicine down in a drawer, Goku rushes outside to show Gohan the fruits of his training. Chi-Chi looks at the medicine in the open drawer and decides to place it in a much safer place. Anything that may make sure that she doesn't lose her husband for a second time needs to be taken seriously. Frieza, having spent most of the last few months evading planets under his previous control, decides to take a punt and lands on a cold planet to see whether he might be able to slip by undetected. This would make things so much more relaxing for him. He'd gotten lucky with Kit and the garbage world being under Frieza control, but would he be just as fortuitous on a more standard planetoid? When landing, the former Emperor feels instinctively like hunching over when he's walking around, donning his cloak with the cowl up, but this time, he decides to keep it down and try and regain some of his former swagger. He parks the ship up and proceeds to head to a place where he could perhaps get something to eat, having not had a proper meal, the meal that he would have once considered standard fare from his rich background, in what seemed like an eternity. However, he did not account for something. He may not have been recognizable as his older self, but his ship was. Frieza orders some food and takes a seat in the back of the restaurant, trying not to draw too much attention. One step at a time here. He's just glad to have a meal. Sadly though, Not long after he began to tuck into his food and recall the glory days of fine dining, a fracas begins in the bar, where a young green-skinned girl had stolen something important from a rather plush-looking patron who was very, very big-looking. Frieza tries to resist breaking this up and just focus on his food, but it gets worse.
You alright, girlie? You're starting to really get on my nerves. Hand over what you took back, or else the only thing left of you that would be recognisable will be your hands!
The girl isn't fazed though, but other patrons are, as they begin to scatter, sending plates crashing everywhere, and any illusion of peace and quiet that Frieza had hoped to have were dashed. Frieza breaks the fork that he had in his hand into several pieces and gets up, storming over to the proceedings. The girl is slowly beginning to regret her actions, fumbling for the item, but then before she can hand it back, Frieza stands in between her and the patron.
Back off, droid! This ain't your predicament.
Frieza stands resolute. Oh, I think you will find that you have made it my predicament by your constant prattle. Get out of here, or else I will make you. The patron isn't scared, not being able to sense energy, and decides to dunk on this lunatic, which does nothing. The girl is surprised to see this happen, and uses this distraction to slip away.
Oh, you got some upgrades, do you, droid? Well then, I guess I gotta try a little bit hard.
As the patron raises up again, Frieza grows tired and does a basic punch to the gut, which totally wins him and almost tears this patron into pieces. Frieza then suddenly remembers that he wasn't here to try and attract attention at the last second, and with a flick of his cowl, he plops some coins down on the bar, keep the change, my dear, and walks out, spotting the girl walking away, trying to blend into the crowd. I hope what you took was worth it, urchin. The girl whips around to see it's Frieza and not the other guy. I didn't need your help. Frieza, doubting this thought hard, walks up closer to provide some further scolding. It looks to me that you are absolutely begging for mercy. If it hadn't been for me, you might have ended up looking even greener in the face than you already are, like those Namekian filth. The girl is utterly confused at this remark, but rallies herself. Whatever. You gotta ride out of here then? I wanna hightail out of this dump. I've been stuck here for months. Wow, what gumption. Well, I would offer you a ride, but I don't help ungrateful little urchins such as yourself. Now, be a dear and run along and wait for the next overly generous benefactor of yours. I'm sure a girl like you can find one soon enough. Frieza's ramblings are halted when he spots his ship being carted off by a coal transporter. Officers sprawled all over it, having recognized the craft parked awkwardly, and then spotting that there is a serial number of a vessel that was stolen by the escaping Frieza. Oh, great. The girl's smirk returns. Was that your ride? Frieza looks torn. He could easily regain the ship from these weak mooks, yeah, but that would go against what he was trying to do right now and blend in. There was nothing he could do right now, and she knew this fact completely. That was so your ride, huh? Oh, tough break, bud. Now you're just like me. Unless you want to do something dangerous. Frieza seems suspect. And what would that be? The girl gets up close and mutters in a quieter tone. Meet me back here after dark, and we'll get your ship back. I know how to get in there. Plus, I'm small, and I know where they're gonna take it. If you know this, then why didn't you try to steal a ship yourself? Duh. Look at me. I'm not exactly subtle, nor did I have such powerful backup like yourself. Backup? Backup? He? Lord Frieza? He has to swallow his pride for now, though, because this was the only way of getting his ship back. He really didn't want to have to go to all of the effort and bother to try and find a new one right now. I mean, he'd only just gotten used to where all the buttons were on his ship. Fine. You better know what you're getting yourself into, girl. The girl does the OK symbol. Don't sweat it, old man. I got this. As that's going on, Goku and Gohan begin their training with Piccolo, tagging in like in the original, and the rest of the gang also step up to the plate when it comes to dealing with the upcoming android menace. With Goku's greater understanding of spirit control and energy in general, as well as the ability to heal, the training is even more effective than before, with the gains that the trio get being even more potent than in the regular timeline, plus the fact they can heal up instantly and keep on going. Goku is fired up with his choice, meaning that he and his son can train together even more than what would have been possible before. You know, when they had to rely on sensu beans and they had a limited supply, it was so good. This then sparks something else to happen. Vegeta decides, after weeks of training on his own, to join in with the trio. The reason? Well, he can sense the difference in energy from when he last saw Kakarot or Namek, and now. The gains he had gotten in particular was so profound that he demanded to know where he got this power and understanding. Goku then just casually tells him and asks him whether he would like to as well.
How long did it take for you to gain this power, Kakarot?
I don't know, about 11 months or so.
Well, I'll complete this in 10. And with that, Vegeta begins his own training on Yardrat. Will Pibara know what has hit him? And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you guys think? Do you think Frieza has found himself an accomplice worth keeping? Will Vegeta prove to be just as proficient as he is in the Super manga? Or will his less benevolent mood here in this saga be his undoing? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later.